Hello, I'm Ted Brower, and I'm coming to you today with an update on Ebola. I told you several months ago when I sent out some information on Ebola that I was going to go ahead and wait to see what was going to happen, and there were several scenarios that could happen. And one of the scenarios that I talked about happening is happening. We're now having pockets of outbreaks of Ebola in the United States. And I want to talk about the fear, the facts, the fiction of all of this information on Ebola and what you're being told, because a lot of the stuff that you're being told is just simply downright lies. Normally I don't use notes when I do presentations, but I'm going to go ahead and use notes on this because I wrote this up yesterday, and I want to make sure that basically you guys get all the facts. I want to make sure I keep them in order and keep them in line. But right now Ebola's gotten bad, especially in Liberia and Monrovia, the capital, in Sierra Leone. We've got a lot of problems over there with Guyana. We've got thousands dead. We've got bodies stacking up. We've got people on strike basically who are burying the bodies. We've got dogs digging up bodies, running around with infected body parts and eating them. We've got horrible, horrible situations where they're having to bring cattle incinerators in because there's so many bodies they can't burn them. They can't burn them properly, and they can't bury them quickly enough. And so it's a mess. And so we're going to talk about some of these issues today. So let me go ahead and get started. I've been hesitant to write on this topic because it's such a negative topic. And I don't want to be promoting fear. Now, I've done almost 100 talk shows on Ebola and the former southern borders of the United States in the last 3 months. This is not going to be a feel-good, rah-rah, hoopla video. This is a deadly serious subject. There are a lot of downright lies and much obfuscation concerning this crisis. So if you want the truth, continue listening to the video. If you don't want to know the truth, turn the video off, because I'm going to give you some really cutting-edge information that you probably haven't been told. So many of you have been so kind to support Health Masters over the years by purchasing our nutraceutical supplements. Thank you. I appreciate the support. But this email is not about Health Masters or me or you. It's about the health and the future of our planet as we now know it. The current administration in Washington, and I include most of the senators, most of the House members, the executive branch, are basically not doing their job. Their poll numbers reflect this statement. The first question many hosts ask me on radio talk shows when I do the shows is, why won't the current administration or the CDC close the borders of the United States to foreign nationals from Ebola-infected countries? Well, that's going to be the gist of this video in the beginning, and then we're going to give you some alternatives on how you can build your immune system and which supplements that you can use. So please stay tuned to the whole video. But that's a good question, why they won't close the borders. I mean, everything I'm turning on with Yahoo now, with Google, with all of the different search engines, everybody's asking the same questions. If our borders had been closed to start with to these infected countries, Duncan could have never come over. He's patient zero. He could have not come to the United States. He could not have infected anyone. He could not have come to the Dallas hospital, basically, and infected anyone. He basically wouldn't have been here. You know, our State Department right now and our United States Embassy there in Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guyana, they're giving out about 100 travel visas a day from these infected countries within a matter of a few days to all the people who want travel visas to come into the United States. This is how he was able to come over. So we've got to ask ourselves, why is this happening? None of these answers are going to be mutually exclusive. It could be a combination of all of them. They're all plausible, but I don't know if any of them are accurate. All I know is that this is the best I can come up with, because the fact that we're even having this conversation is insanity to me. I don't understand any of this as far as what's going on with our government, because one of the first things you do in an epidemic is you isolate the source. And the fact that we haven't isolated the source of these countries from which this infection is coming from doesn't make any sense to me. So number one, why is the administration doing this? Total and complete incompetence. I guess you can keep your doctor and your healthcare insurance isn't going to go up. One of the first protocols in a pandemic is to stop the infected people from infecting others. The head of the CDC is just plain uninformed in this, or he's being stupid, or he's being told something else to do. I don't understand it. Him saying that basically the United States is going to help the foreign countries by allowing the borders to stay open to prevent the spread of the disease or something like that. I really don't understand what he said, because it was such gibberish to me that I don't even think he was believing it. Second reason that they may not be closing the border. Now, you got to listen to me on this one, guys. This is not conspiracy theory. I try to stay away from all that because it's just not conducive, but we're not doing conspiracy here at all today. The CDC owns the Ebola patent, whatever that's supposed to mean. You can look it up in the patent office. When Canada tried to send medicine to us last summer to treat the Dr. Brantley, who was coming over from an infected country, who had been sent over by a Samaritan's Purse on a private jet in isolation. The medicine was refused to be allowed to use and be brought into our country because of intellectual property rights. Okay, if that sounds as odd to you as it does to me, I don't know. But it seems as though they're trying to build some kind of vaccine base, because always remember the CDC is like the Federal Reserve Bank. They're a quasi-federal agency. They kind of operate on their own deal, and they have the rights to all the vaccines and all of the drugs being manufactured to treat Ebola from a intellectual property rights standpoint. And I'm speaking slowly here because this stuff is really weird to me. I don't understand it, why they would do this. So whoever develops a vaccine for this quote-unquote disease, this Ebola device that's been patented, will probably make hundreds of millions, if not billions, if not trillions of dollars. They try to basically do the whole planet. So is this something that they're trying to do just to make more money off of this? I hope not. I hope not. But I'm just giving you these 5 theories that I've come up with. Number 3, back in the 1800s, Darwin came up with this whole survival of the fittest. It was carried through by Sanger, who developed a eugenics protocol in which they decided that the population of the planet needed to be reduced. Now, I agree that we need to be teaching people how not to have 10 and 12 children in some of these third world countries. I got that. Okay, there's no question about that. But Dr. Horowitz wrote a really good book on the origins of Ebola and AIDS, and he said that he proved pretty much with the literature that the Ebola and the AIDS virus were basically brought to us through Fort Detrick, through our weapons manufacturing facilities, through the U.S. Army, and that they were developed specifically. He has a documentation, and you can look it up better than I can in his book, Ebola and AIDS, The Origin of Dr. Horowitz, that they're going to be used for eugenics or population control of the planet. Now, the Rockefeller, Bill Gates, George Soros eugenics protocols may be moving forward. I don't know. Many of you have not even heard of this. You can Google it and you can learn a lot about it, but you may not want to know about it. This topic is so documented that it will be easy to find. Bill Gates said that the vaccinations can be used for population reduction of the planet. He right now, by the way, is under investigation in India for crimes against certain indigenous people there for testing vaccines on them. And I don't know how that's going to turn out, but you can look that up too. But think about this. Look at the Gardasil program. I've written articles and chapters in my latest book on Gardasil. Gardasil was used to help prevent cervical cancer with these young girls and these teenage girls, and now we have a whole group of girls now that have died from this and who are also permanently sterilized from this. Vaccines are interesting. I mean, you guys I don't have to even try to talk to you about vaccines. I've done it so many times. The reality is this. Why is our government leaving the borders open from infected countries? I mean, is that a reason for the eugenics protocol? I don't know. Again, I'm just speculating here. I'm not saying any of these are accurate. Even considering that this option is plausible is horrible enough. But always remember, the United States and Russia have worked on weaponizing Ebola for military use through Fort Detrick and the Russians through their organizations for decades. The worst disease on the planet is smallpox. Then comes Ebola. Then comes the bubonic plague. So this product falls between smallpox and the bubonic plague. I'm not saying it's been released on purpose. Don't misquote me. But I also do know that the Sierra Leone newspapers have said that there was a weapons laboratory located in their country, and they're blaming the release of this product, this Ebola patented device, on this weapons research lab, which has now been closed. Whether or not it's been released on purpose or by accident, I don't know. All I know is that the current Ebola has been changed. It's not as UV sensitive as it used to be. In other words, sunlight doesn't affect it like it did. It stays alive on surface areas. It can stay alive for hours on countertops and bathrooms, on knobs. It's just something that you don't need to be walking through somebody's sneeze pattern if they just sneeze if they've got Ebola, or sitting by them on an airplane. And all of this fear that's being brought up is, some of it's accurate about that. But we're still trying to just figure out these plausible explanations of why they won't close the border. I don't understand any of this. It doesn't make any sense to me. So anyhow, just remember the weapons labs have been working on weaponizing Ebola for decades. That's just open knowledge. Look it up online. Number 4, the current administration is concerned about offending the infected countries because they don't want to be considered racists. Okay. Well, almost 20 countries in Africa have already banned the folks from Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Guyana from coming into their countries. They've closed their borders to them. Well, we've got Africans telling Africans they can't come to the country. They're not being racist. They're being cautious. They're following one of the first steps of quarantine protocol. That's to isolate the infection. They know all about this in Africa. They've been dealing with Ebola and AIDS for years. In some parts of Africa, up to 100% of the population has AIDS. Other parts, up to 50% have AIDS. AIDS has swept through Africa. I was there a few years ago, and all these young children were running all over the streets. And I asked the guy who was with us, I said, why are these kids running around by themselves? And he says, well, their parents have all died of AIDS. They've been left homeless on the streets. So the protocol of the AIDS killing everybody in Africa, if that's what they tried to do according to Horowitz, was ineffective because of the reproduction rates. I don't know. I have no idea about any of this stuff. I didn't do the research. Remember, I'm a scientist, guys. I have to deal with analytical research and empirical evidence. If I can't quantify something, it makes it very difficult for me to do a video like this. And that's why I'm having a hard time with this. And I'm just kind of giving you plausible scenarios rather than making bold statements about what's going on. Here's what's also interesting about these. These are questions I want to ask you. We're so worried about offending these people because we don't want to be considered racist against these African countries. And the CDC guy says to let them come in so we can control the virus and the disease. What about our country? What about this cruise ship now that's got this lady on it that's basically infected, or they're flying around, this lady from this nurse now who's been infected who says that the protocols were never followed? Let me share something with you real quick. An Ebola patient should never be taken to a major hospital, period. Done. Forget it. Don't even do that. These are level 4 quarantine products, this Ebola device. It has to be in a negative pressure room with a positive pressure suit with an umbilical attached to it. Full spacesuit, pressurized suit. That's how dangerous this is. Level 4 quarantine according to the Centers for Disease Control, but yet they're putting them in level 1 quarantine facilities and hospitals. Makes no sense to me. They should set up like a MASH unit outside of every major city that ends up having this problem. And nobody should be allowed into a hospital who has Ebola, period. And the people working in these MASH units should also be fully protected. They should not be allowed to get even near the general population. And anybody who has any of these conditions need to be fully quarantined. Oh, better yet, why don't we just close the borders and not let them come over? Imagine that. Or if we can't set up a MASH unit, there's like 5 level 4 quarantine facilities in the United States. Why don't we send them to those quarantine facilities in the private jet that's been used to transport Ebola patients to those cities? Or better yet, why don't we keep the borders closed? God, this is also stupid. I'm sorry, I'm just very frustrated right now. What about our country? What about our children? What about our grandchildren? What about our economy? What about our future in this country if we have Ebola pop up in pockets? It's kind of like cancer. If you got cancer with a little toe, you can cut the pinky off or whatever you want to do, or fix it or treat it or whatever you want to do to it. If it starts popping up all over your body, you're in trouble. That's the same thing with the United States. It can handle little pockets of Ebola. It can't handle a full-blown epidemic. Can't do it. Number 5, excuse me. This is an interesting one. Now, I'm not saying this is the right one. I'm just saying this is very, very interesting. Lobbyists who basically control the United States government, we know that now, from Sierra Leone, from the diamond mine industry there, have spent a lot of money to keep the borders open in the past. Bet you didn't know that Sierra Leone mines some of the highest quality diamonds in the world. Now, let me give you a couple of links to this, in case you're wondering what in the world I'm talking about with diamonds, because I'm not a diamond expert. Remember, our country is owned by the Federal Reserve. Why do I say that? Because we owe the Federal Reserve Bank trillions of dollars. The Bible says that the borrower is servant to the lender. They pretty much dictate our foreign policy. They dictate what we're going to do. They dictate our reserve rate. They give us a boom or bust cycle, whatever they want to do. It started in 1913 with Woodrow Wilson. The Federal Reserve Bank was started by the Rothschild banking interests. By the way, they also funded Cecil Rhodes, who started De Beers, which is the largest diamond manufacturing mining company in the world and seller of diamonds. Now listen to me really closely on this. The entire diamond mines of Sierra Leone are owned by BSGR Diamonds. They run all the mining interests in Sierra Leone. De Beers is one of the primary buyers from BSGR Diamonds. Also, Barry Steinmetz, who owns BSGR Diamonds, has been written up in the New Yorker magazine. You can look it up. July the 8th, 2013. And you can read the article, Buried Secrets by Patrick Keefe. This article reads like a spy novel. By the way, it also ties Steinmetz to George Soros, another globalist who wants a eugenics protocol and wants a one-world government. Regardless of how all of this international intrigue plays out, there are billions, hundreds of billions of dollars on the line with Sierra Leone diamonds and gold. One more question. Why are our troops in Sierra Leone? I mean, We know that our United States troops, look it up, are guarding the poppy fields which make heroin in Afghanistan, which has become the primary producer of heroin for the world now. And our troops are used to guard the poppy fields to support the warlords who grow the poppy seeds, who basically, look it up. It gets really convoluted. Don't believe me? Check it out. So are our troops there to protect the people, to stabilize the government, to guard the diamond mines like they do the poppy fields? Or why are they really there? Because we sent in last time I checked, we sent in a 25-bed hospital into the infected area with thousands and thousands of people infected. Right now, the World Health Organization has said 1.5 million people are going to be infected by January. That means we have upwards of 150,000 infected now in October, because that'll be January to November to be 300, December to be actually more than that. We have 300,000 now, 600,000, 1.2 million by January, 1.5 million. I mean, this is nuts on the exponential growth curve this is on. The countries have now said they need another 80,000 body bags as of yesterday. So this is getting worse and worse. All of these different things are happening all at once. We've got hurricanes on the East Coast, on the West Coast. We've got global warming they keep telling us about, if you believe that. The masses, the people of the United States, are being programmed into what's called learned helplessness. It's a psychological term. I've got a degree in psychology also from Florida State. And basically what that means is that people cannot concentrate on all these things at once. They simply give up and they accept whatever the government or the people in charge are going to do. So if that means if this thing goes to medical martial law under the United Nations, which is something that we signed and said would be okay in 2006, then I guess that means that's okay. Well, what about roadside checkpoints forcing you to take vaccinations that haven't been properly tested? I mean, how far is this going to go? And after medical martial law starts, if this plausible scenario happens, then what happens when the United Nations takes over everything? If they take over everything, then they're going to have a new world government. Oh, that's right, a new world order. Oh, that's what George Bush says, that we're going towards a new world order. I said that back in the early 90s. Oh, that's also right, too. If you look on the back of the dollar bill, there's a little pyramid, and it says in Latin, out of chaos will come a new world order. I find that interesting. There are some things that you can do. I'm going to repeat that. Out of chaos will come a new world order. On the back of our dollar bill, right underneath around the pyramid, written in Latin with an all-seeing eye above the pyramid. That's a symbol of a death cult, by the way, the all-seeing eye. You can look that one up, too. Here's what's interesting about all of this. There's things that you have to understand about Ebola. Not everybody who gets exposed to Ebola gets Ebola. Not everybody who gets Ebola dies from Ebola. The person's immune system is what helps the person to recover from the Ebola. Always remember this. If your immune system is strong enough, it's hard for viruses to attack your body, regardless of what kind of virus it is. And I'm not talking about cures for Ebola. I'm not doing that. I would never do that. What I'm talking about is keeping the immune system strong. At healthmasters.com, you can call us at 1-800-726-1834. If you can't find it online, or if you can't get in touch with us, or you don't have the ability to go online or whatever, you can go to your local health food store. Get a pH-neutral P8 vitamin C, 4,000 to 6,000 milligrams a day, every single day starting now. Also, potassium iodide, 13 milligrams a day. Make sure it has its synergistic components included in the tablet that you take. Potassium iodide is one of the principal components of helping the immune system stay strong. D3. Go to my website. I've written extensive articles on both potassium iodide and D3. D3 stops what's called an inflammatory cascade or cytokine storm in the body. It really helps the body to stay strong. Some orthomolecular scientists are now saying that the lack of vitamin C in the body is the primary cause of death from Ebola. I don't know. I haven't done the research on that. But it makes sense as far as how they explained it in the article that I had read. Also, biographics and immune support, very, very important to strengthen the immune system. All these are available. If you've got any questions about any of this stuff, please remember, the Bible says the perfect love casts out fear. Timothy says we're not born of a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind, according to what the scriptures say. We've got to keep our hearts and our minds focused on Jesus Christ. And yes, I'm a Christian. You all know that. If you don't know that, you know that now. I don't believe in this one world government. I don't believe in any of this. I don't want the book of Revelation to start opening right now. I think we can pray and stop a lot of that. But we're getting real close, friends, and we've got to stay together as a group, as a team, and support one another and pray for one another. I thank you so much. If you have any questions, please give us a call.